600 wins, 6 Georgia State championships, 16 regional championships, 2-time National Coach of the Year, first team from Georgia to win the City of Palms Classic, the nation's #1 high school tournament, first team in Georgia history to attend the Dick's Sporting Goods National Tournament of Championships. He's produced numerous NBA players and professional basketball players all over the world. It's real basketball talk. It's real help and real life with Coach Doug Lipscomb on the BG Podcast Network. Real Life Basketball is brought to you by the all-new 2018 K900 at Carriage Kia of Woodstock and Gainesville. Buy your new K900 from Carriage Kia and we'll fly you in or come pick you up for delivery. Visit CarriageKia.com 24/7, 365 days a year. For America's best deal on the K900, call Chris Stanford directly at 1-866-333-2122. That's 1-866-333-2122.
Welcome to the 33rd episode of Real Life Basketball. I'm here with Coach Doug Lipscomb and DeShaun Tate from 92.9 The Game. Doug, can you believe we made it to 33 episodes?
Oh, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a whole lot, and we have a great topic to talk about today. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs, how some of us were right and some of us were wrong. Coach Doug came in here and really boasted about how he didn't get anything wrong, and we all know that, DeShaun, you have great takes coming up on the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, I haven't been here for all 33 episodes, man, but I have had the opportunity to check into a couple of them, and blessed for that opportunity, and looking forward for the rest of what the podcast has in store for us all, what the NBA playoffs has in store for us all, and just everything overall, man. So really looking forward to it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, they've been really exciting this past week, I guess. They've been just going at it. And then we're going to get to some AAU talk. Coach talks to one of his good friends, Desmond Eastmond, and they talk about Jaylen Brown and about how Jaylen Brown's quite the chess player.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that a little later. How about that?
That sounds good. It sounds like a whole bunch of fun. But first, let's pay the bills and let's cut to commercial. And when we come back, we'll be talking to Desmond.
Come see the Carriage family and experience the Carriage difference.
Kia is keeping it real with the all-new 2018 K900. Drive the car LeBron James drives and other NBA players call their preferred vehicle of choice. And right now, Carriage Kia of Woodstock and Gainesville has your new K900 ready for delivery. Go online, handle everything, then upon completion, we will fly you in to pick up your new K900 or deliver it directly to you. Call Chris Stanford directly at 1-866-333-2122. That's 1-866-333-2122. Ask for Chris Stanford. Carriage Kia, 24/7, 365 days a year at CarriageKia.com.
Come see the Carriage family and experience the Carriage difference.
Good afternoon. We have the pleasure today of speaking with Desmond Eastmond, who's known all over the country as one of the top trainers and one of the most knowledgeable people in the game of basketball today. And how you doing today, Des?
I'm doing great, Coach. How you?
Good, brother. I want to talk to you about what you see coming in the near this week. For example, what's happening on the AAU circuit this week?
Well, this week is actually the first live period where college coaches can come out and evaluate kids. And you have the three major shoe circuits, which is Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour. And Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour will actually be located in Dallas this weekend. So Dallas is actually going to be one of the biggest cities where, kids can get the most exposure. Adidas also has 3 more remote locations, LA, Indianapolis, and DC. But I see the majority of action this weekend with college coaches and visibility being in the Dallas area.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody particularly that you think that the recruiters and the college coaches are really leaning toward and looking at this weekend? Because I know there's a lot of talent in Dallas this weekend. Is there anybody particular that just jumps off the page at you?
Nah, they actually what's probably going to happen is a lot of the college coaches are going to see some of the familiar faces that they've been following when the kids were younger. But what's going to happen in following those kids, they're going to be playing against some kids that don't have as much notoriety, and those kids are going to actually be able to make a name for themselves this weekend and next weekend with the 2 live periods, and springboard into what would be a good summer for them, and some more visibility during the 3 summer sessions that are in July.
Okay, I know there are going to be a lot of new faces in Dallas this year with there being so many coaches changes, in the college ranks. Like, a lot of people going to be wearing different shirts. Do you see anybody?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of
Do you see a lot of, do you see any coaches that you think right off the top of your head that's going to make a major impact in recruiting this year?
Well, you got some great coaches that made some changes. You got Crean at UGA may make an impact. You know what I mean? It's a good situation for him. You definitely have Chris Mack at Louisville. You know what I mean? He's been one of the top mid-major coaches for quite some time now, and now he's in a great place. You know what I mean? You have some places where at Xavier where they took an assistant and built them up. You know what I mean? You have I believe it's LaSalle. Coach Rod LaSalle has a good situation. There's a lot of new coaches, you know what I mean, throughout the country that's going to have an opportunity to make an impact.
Okay. There's one other name that I'd like to mention to you, and that's Penny Hardaway.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. He's already made a huge impact on the recruiting trail, even in the 2018 class. I believe in the last week or so, he's had 3 commitments from top 150 kids. And, you know what I mean? His impact at Memphis is going to be tremendous in the future, especially with, kids in that Memphis area.
Right. There was some other surprise commitments as well. How do you feel about E.J. Montgomery and Ashton attending University of Kentucky?
Yeah, well, EJ and Ashton, it was a great situation for both. I think EJ being the skilled big man that he is, he's probably one of the most skilled big men in the country. And I think Kentucky will be able to utilize him. And, once he gets that strength and the ability to make basketball plays, I think in Cal's offense, he'll flourish. Ashton, along the lines of the great point guard that Cal has had, you talking about Derrick Rose, you talking about Bledsoe, you talking about John Wall. I think Ashton can be mentioned in the breath with all of those guys because he's special. And, Cal just going to give him the ball and make him play.
That sounds good. Now, let's get back to the things that I would like to ask you. How do you feel that the scandal has impacted basketball thus far, and do you see any changes coming about?
I don't see any changes as far as college basketball right now. They're gonna scrutinize situations more. They're gonna, go through situations with a fine-tooth comb. But I don't think the scandal has affected the grand scheme of things because players need to play and they're gonna have to have a place to play. And college basketball is a home for them. I think that college basketball can make it better for the players if they do away with scholarships and, just offer the players a salary and allow them to pay their own way through college. I think that would take away a lot of the, what they consider scandal. But like I said, it's $1 billion industry. And at the end of the day, they're going to have to share the revenue with the people that's doing the heavy lifting, which is the players.
Most
Eventually,
definitely.
they have to do that.
Yes, I totally agree. How do you think this summer is going to shape up as far as the way that the circuit is built this summer, and who's going to be most exciting that you can just think of, G, out of all the teams that you know that's out there?
I mean, I could tell you a few that I've saw just this last few weekends. Now, of course, I haven't been able to be all over the country, so this weekend is going to really tell all. But AOT out of Georgia, they're tremendous with the group they got on the Nike circuit. Each one teach one. They have a good group on the Nike circuit. Game Elite with Ashton Hagans, Kobe Brown. They have a great group on the Adidas circuit. Some other teams that I've saw so far. Compton Magic is always going to be good. Team Finals is going to be good. Team Takeover is always going to be good. CP3 is going to be good on on the Nike circuit. Out of Virginia, Team Loaded is exactly that, loaded. Like you got teams all over the country that, you know what I mean? You have some organizations that they just produce good teams regardless, but then you're going to have some surprise situations after the next 2 weekends.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I need to make some of these events. Need to be there. I got one other thing, Coach. If you are a parent or a coach or someone that you have influence on kids today, and from your perspective, tell me what kids should really be concentrating on right now at this time of year.
Development. There's always room for improvement. There's always an opportunity to get better. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean, regardless to where you play, you know what I mean, if you can play, they will find you. You know what I mean? You got situations where Dame Lillard at Weber State, you know what I mean, Steph Curry at Davidson, Kawhi Leonard at San Diego State. Some of the top players in college basketball, in the NBA right now, have played at mid-major universities. So, you know what I mean, playing in an exposure environment is not always best because it's just that. You have the ability to get exposed if your game is not what it's supposed to be. So my suggestion is get in the gym, get you a trainer that's knowledgeable of the sport, that's knowledgeable of you as an individual, and someone that can help you become better, put yourself in that environment, and marry it. And eventually, you know what I mean, once your game evolves to what it's supposed to be, the right people will see you.
Right, and I totally agree with you. And working with you in the past and seeing that you've been involved with numerous kids, I'm just going to say this right here. If you had to give an example of a kid, I want you to tell me how you think the development of Jaylen Brown took place.
I mean, his actual handle for his social media says it all. You know what I mean? Faith, consistency, and hard work pays off. That's exactly what he's built on. You know what I mean? He's built on working hard, working at his craft, and he's intelligent way beyond his years, not only off the court, but on the court. And, you know what I mean? I'm actually now starting to see the game. He's doing the same things he's been doing since high school. I'm actually now starting to see it slow down for him at the NBA level. And the slower it gets, the better he's going to become because he's always had the ability to put the ball on the floor. He's always had the ability to shoot. He's always been athletic. He's always had, you know what I mean, IQ and a great feel for the game to make basketball plays. Being with a coach like Brad Stevens, it's allowing him to use JB, you know what I mean, in the best manner. And it's starting to show off. You know what I mean? He's had the opportunity.
I totally agree. And watching JB grow up, Coach, I'm going to tell you like this. I see the maturity taking place, and he's always been unselfish. But one thing I am noticing, Coach, he's put a lot of time in that jump shot. And I would say that's one of his more improved parts of his game. Confidence level on the jump shot is right there. I don't know if you watched him last night, that section where he had the shot in the corner, took an extra dribble, which he really didn't have to have, but he went on and took the dribble and hit the shot anyway. It's like, yeah.
That's because the game slowed down for him. Now when it slows down, you can do things that you don't really have to do. You know what I mean? Because you're that comfortable with your environment and with yourself. So he knew he was going to make that shot, even if it was a catch and shoot situation. Yeah. And that comes from the work he puts in the off season. Like the work you put in the summertime when no one is there always shows when everybody's watching.
Right. And there's another thing that we need to touch on too. That young man never took his academics for granted. Because every time they speak on this young man, they talk about how intelligent he is, and I really admire that part that they don't leave out, and I'm glad they had to do that. They always talk about his ability to play chess. Right now, I'm gonna ask you this question, Coach: have you ever beaten him in chess?
Oh, definitely. He don't want this smoke. He don't want this.
In case he doesn't remember, I remember a couple of matches taking place in some lobbies at some hotels when we were on the road. So I think you got him.
He don't want. He coach.
Yeah.
He can beat me. He can beat me in everything else in life.
But chess, I want to see if he's going to admit that. That's our dude. That's our guy, and we're wishing him the best. We ride or die with Boston.
And he is the future president of the Players Association.
Sounds good.
But he would never beat me in chess.
Right. And well, man, I want to thank you for giving us your time and your opinion on what's going on out there, and we look forward to talking to you again later on in the AAU season.
All right, Coach, and y'all have a great day.
All right, thank you, man. Have a good evening. All right, bye. This is Doug Lipscomb, and I've had the opportunity to work with Constant Elevation Sports Consultants. We are profound in evaluating potential on any level of business and athletics. Our blueprint has proven to be very successful. Our strategies have helped develop several multimillionaires. And our philosophy is we don't just work to impress, we work for positive impact.
And we're back. 33rd episode of nothing other than what you're listening to right here, the Real Life Basketball Podcast, where we keep it real. We keep it 100, not 100, 100. Right here, got me, DeShaun Tate, obviously. We got, I call him Slick Nick Paparelli, the legendary Coach Doug Lipscomb. Now that we're finished, it's complete. It is a wrap like a burrito. We're completely finished talking about the AAU circuit. Now let's go ahead and turn it on over to the professional basketball, the NBA, what everybody dreamed of, what everybody loves to talk about. It's NBA playoff time. First things first, the game's coming up tonight. Game 3, Sixers at the Heat. Series tied 1-1. That's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same thing. 9 o'clock p. Eastern Standard Time. Trailblazers at Pelicans. Some way, somehow, the Pelicans go up on the Blazers 2-0, going back to the Big Easy. And then, of course, at 9:30, the defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, minus Stephen Curry, potentially, against going on the road, packing their bags and their suitcases up against the San Antonio Spurs. First and foremost, of these 3 games, let's start off with my boy Slick Nick, man. Slick Nick, rather. Slick, what pops out at you most about either of these 3 series, something that you've seen the most out of the games that's been played so far?
It's going to be the Pelicans versus the Blazers. I thought Damian Lillard was going to take over the series. I thought Anthony Davis was not going to be really a factor. And then all of a sudden I'm looking up on Wednesday and it's 2-0 going back to the Big Easy like you just said. I'm still waiting for Dame time to come up. I'm a big fan. I got roasted for picking them to go on the next round by our past host Darren Sutherland and our very own legendary coach Doug Lipscomb. But I still believe in Damian Lillard. And even though Anthony Davis is a freak on the glass, a freak in the post, a freak on the outside, just a whole freak in general, he might get his first playoff series win, but we'll see. Dame time is bound to come.
Coach?
Oh, it's to me. I think you got to give props to Anthony Davis and the Pelicans. It's hands down. I mean, they are shocking people. Other than themselves, they already knew they were good, but now everybody else gets to see how good they really are.
How about Drew Holiday, even in that series? Being called earlier today as I was watching some TV, the best two-way player in the NBA. I'm not sure if I'd necessarily go that far, but he's had a pretty good 2 games for the first round of the playoffs.
That's a bold comment.
That is a very, very bold statement. Anthony Davis so far, 28 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists. And I'm one of those guys who just always kind of felt that as long as Anthony Davis can stay off of the IR, that there's a lot of potential. And let's not forget, he's doing this without his front court teammate and DeMarcus Cousins. I'm not sure how long it will last. However, Dame Lillard, man, he's going to be looking forward to potentially busting that bubble a little bit, if you will, in the Big Easy. Now, some of the games that we've seen already, obviously, the Toronto Raptors go up on the Washington Wizards, getting ready to go back to the nation's capital. They're up 2-0 right now. The Boston Celtics up 2-0 as well on the Milwaukee Bucks. And last but not least, as we were discussing, how about the performance that Dwayne Wade had the other night? 28 points, looked like his old self, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a 113-103 win to even the series against the Philadelphia 76ers. First things first, as we jump into this. Coach, we know that you have really close ties with Jaylen Brown and coached him up. Talk a little bit about this series and a little bit about Jaylen Brown and the ways that he has not only produced, but the ways that he has also matured.
Well, we had a discussion about that a little earlier. I mean, when we got the opportunity to talk with Desmond, and if we're going to hit back on that, what we were discussing, and I have to agree with him totally, is that his overall game is developed, and he sees the floor so well, and his production is speaking for itself, his dedication to the game. Like he performed up to the utmost level, and I'm just proud of him. Very happy he's having success, and I hope it continues. But I don't think that series is just totally over yet, because I see the Greek Freak he's going to try to make a run for it. And like you and I discussed earlier, it seems like there's a pattern in these NBA games where you can be up like 15 with about 4 minutes to go, and it always seems to be cut back down. Most of the time it's cut back down to about 6 and 8, and then the other team pulls away. But you got to give credit to the players that didn't or haven't started for the Celtics. The point guard coming in and taking over, other kids producing, like Greg Monroe. Where's he been? So, I mean, he's stepping up to the challenge now. But my question to you, I need to go back and ask you this question, DeShaun. Do you think Wade can do that again?
One thing I won't do is I will never doubt a man whose future accolades or achievements or what have you are on the line, especially a guy who's proven to do it. I think that the age has certainly caught up with him a little bit. I don't think that he'll go out and do it again necessarily in both games in Miami, 3 and 4. If he does, I definitely can't see him doing it for 3 games in a row when it is time to go back to Philadelphia. However, we talked about this in the last podcast in terms of just the Miami Heat organization knowing what it takes to actually get there and be there and do this. I mean, Dwayne Wade did this with LeBron James. He did this without LeBron James when he had Shaq on that team in what I think was like 2006 or something like that. But nevertheless, I'm not sure if I'd go as far to say that I won't see him do it again. I just don't know how long he will be able to necessarily keep this up.
Because what's going to be amazing is if he doesn't do that, who else you going to say that can step up and take his place right there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can necessarily say that there will be a guy. I think it's going to have to come from a standpoint of a collective effort, And I mean, they have a little something different than what Philadelphia has. And a lot of this does play a point on whether Joel Embiid, who I think the Philadelphia 76ers desperately need at this point because of the simple fact that, Ben Simmons being a guy who is a very dominant player, really, really, really good player, but cannot do it alone on his own either. I mean, there's you're not going to see a whole lot of Markelle Fultz here. A lot of the investments that the Philadelphia 76ers has made, we haven't necessarily see them get reimbursed for that to be able to show on this level. And I mean, deservedly so. I mean, rightfully so. The simple fact that this is still a very young team, they haven't gone through the growing pains that the Miami Heat has already had to go through, whether it be as a team and or as an organization. They're still fresh and new to all of this. But I think that if it happens, it'll come from a collective effort. This could easily be a Game 7.
Well, I hear you. We like you always say, like we always say, time will tell.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Coach. And as I throw it over here to Nick real quick, Terry Rozier, I'm glad you mentioned that name because the Boston Celtics, a lot of people got really discouraged when we saw Gordon Hayward go down at the beginning of the season, knowing that he wasn't going to be coming back. Then you followed that up with Kyrie Irving. No remainder of the regular season, no playoffs as it stands right now. And there's been a lot of people scratching their heads and probably some people in the Boston area that's sweating quite a bit, got the sweat dripping down their rib cage from their armpits a little bit. But when you're looking at it, Terry Rozier steps up. You got Al Horford there, Greg Monroe. You got the pieces there. You better believe that Greg Monroe is looking forward to getting a little bit of revenge because he used to be a Milwaukee Buck. Yes. But, Nick, if you will, talk a little bit about this Celtics series, how surprised you are, what you expect Milwaukee to do coming back, because this isn't going to be easy. Everybody said that Milwaukee would give Boston a fight. I think that they've given them a fight. They just haven't necessarily been able to get over the hump and show that can come away with wins. So between that and then what you've seen out of the Wizards and Raptors series so far.
When looking at the Bucks and the Celtics, I'm just surprised how well Boston's doing. I'm surprised how well Brad Stevens is coaching, even though that's not a surprise at all to a lot of people. But you lose Gordon Hayward to start the season. Doug was actually at that game and watched that injury unfold in front of him, which I can't even imagine. And then you go to Kyrie Irving, who I thought after Gordon went down, Kyrie would carry this team, go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and beat LeBron and go to the championship. That was my prediction, and then all of a sudden, injured Kyrie comes out. Now you have to rely on second and third year players to kind of push this team along and just give credit to Brad Stevens by doing this. He's going against Antetokounmpo, or ABC, the biggest, fastest guy in the NBA that is just a freak, and he's from Greece. He's a Greek freak. When I'm looking at that, I can see Antetokounmpo taking over one or two games, but just looking at the people around him, he's really not going to make a comeback on Boston. I'm saying this series will be over in the next 2 to 3 games, and Boston will be going on, and I am excited to see Boston in the second round. Now, going over to the Raptors and the Wizards. I thought the Wizards were going to give the Raptors a little tougher time, but as I read today, they put it perfectly. The Toronto is exercising some of their demons, and it's really going on to the Wizards. The Wizards took them out last year in the playoffs, and the Raptors are just kicking their butt all over the place. DeMar DeRozan's putting up 30. Kyle Lowry is doing his thing. I think the Raptors, this is an easy 4-0 sweep for them. They're on to the second round, and I think we'll be talking about the Raptors all the way until the Eastern Conference Finals. Hopefully we'll talk less about Drake and more about the team.
No, I can certainly agree with you. I'm all for my light-skinned brothers, man. LSU, light-skinned United. But something about this brother Drake, man, he jumps around from team to team a little bit too much for me. As we finish up here talking about the Celtics, I'm not sure that anybody would have said, had I told you that the Celtics will be playing against the Milwaukee Bucks of all teams, a dangerous Milwaukee team, in the first round. And I know that we still got to talk about, going on the road to Milwaukee for the next 2 games, but that the Boston Celtics would score 120 points and then be leading the series 2-0 with no Kyrie Irving, no Gordon Hayward at this point. I think most people would have thought I was crazy. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not a huge Toronto Raptors guy. I've always thought that Toronto Raptors was fool's gold. I still believe that. I think that where Toronto has benefited more from, and give credit to where it's due, because they're the number one team out east. I'm not sure how hard that is to do, but when you got LeBron James out east, I think that still can be somewhat difficult. Now, in terms of the Toronto Raptors, I think they've reaped the benefits a little bit of John Wall being healthy for a substantial amount of time, or being unhealthy for a substantial amount of time during the regular season, where he doesn't necessarily have his legs up under him. But wonderful performance by guys like Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan yesterday, 37, or the day before yesterday, rather, 37 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, where they needed that type of performance out of him in order to get the ball rolling a little bit, because he hadn't been playing so well. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the defending champion Golden State Warriors, where realistically, I'm not sure exactly how you guys necessarily feel about where they stand without Stephen Curry. 116-101 win over the San Antonio Spurs, without Kawhi Leonard, of course. But the job that Kevin Durant, has done with this team and on this team, 32 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Where do you guys see this finishing up? Will this be a sweep? Does San Antonio even have a chance at winning just one single game without Kawhi Leonard going back to San Antonio? Because they are one of the more prestigious and most successful NBA postseason teams in history. And can they even stand a chance in this series to just win one game? First Nick and then Coach.
Yeah, I would think they would. I really did. Spurs are one of my favorite teams, and LaMarcus Aldridge, he's a great player, and I love how Pop came out after Game 1 or Game 2, and they asked what happened. He just said, "We played bad," and that was his quote. That's amazing. But will they beat the Warriors? After seeing Klay Thompson shoot a 3 and Steph Curry run down the court without even looking at it, knowing it was in, that's when I think it's going to be a 4-0 sweep. They might steal a game, but that will have to be some great defensive work, and then you have to shut down KD and Klay Thompson and Draymond. You need Kawhi Leonard to win these games. Kawhi will shut down people defensively. He'll score offensively. I view Kawhi as a better defensive player than Kobe Bryant and a scorer that has potential like Kobe Bryant.
Coach, your thoughts on this series so far, this series going forward, and at what point do you think that Golden State cannot afford to miss Stephen Curry much longer? Will it be for this series? Will it be for the next series? Or will it be, on to the Western Conference Finals before they'll, bring him back and realize that they need him more than they did for the others?
Well, I think they're gonna cruise through this series here. But that next series is gonna be extremely difficult because I honestly thought Portland would be playing a lot better. Of course, we're going to see what happens in the next game. So that Anthony Davis, he's going to bring some problems for them. So I see Stephen Curry getting well real quick, like after 4 or 5 games. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a big test for them.
This is going to be an extremely interesting series on the next one in the event that they can continue to win the next 2 games in sweep. And I think that I'm not sure how nervous Warriors fans will be, but if the New Orleans Pelicans can find a way, which I highly doubt, but it is possible as it stands right now, if they can find a way to sweep the Portland Trail Blazers, then I think you've got to imagine Golden State fans may not be extremely nervous, but you've kind of got to be a little bit concerned, especially if Stephen Curry is not going to be ready to go just yet. I think that we've touched on probably just about everything in terms of the AAU circuit, where we certainly want to make sure that we thank our guest, Desmond Eastmond, who is one of the top trainers nationally on the AAU circuit. He's a hoop head. He's a hoopologist. Really appreciate him for joining us today, and, of course, breaking down the NBA playoffs as well. So Really appreciative of you guys allowing me to run this podcast with you. Of course, just in case you don't know, you're listening right here to Real Life Basketball. And we keep it 100 and we keeping it real with me, DeShaun Tate, the legend, Coach Doug Lipscomb, and of course, my boy Slick Nick Paparelli.
And we also would like to have one more thanks for our scouting reports by Coach Hines. You can follow him at Coach Hines28, and we really appreciate all the AAU info, and we hope you can keep on bringing it to us. At the same time, I think Coach needs to stop bragging about his ping pong skills so we can finally get Jaylen Brown on this show. I predicted that E.J. Montgomery would go to Kentucky, and that happened. So hopefully I can predict that Jaylen Brown will be on this show after the playoffs are over, and that will happen. Once again, this is Real Life Basketball with DeShaun Tate, legendary coach Doug Lipscomb, and Slick Nick. Have a nice day, have a nice week, and keep it real.
Thank you.
Hey.